As Diddy's trial unfolds in real time, 50 Cent seems to have made one of the most significant revelations in hip-hop history. He claims Diddy killed Tupac, putting an end to decades of speculation. The most intriguing aspect is that Diddy disliked Tupac but has always denied any role in his death, which now doesn't seem to be accurate.
We saw Suge in the back of the House of Blues. Tupac was alive at the time. Tupac was in a white drop-top Rolls Royce. Suge was in a red one. We rose up to Pac. Puff tried to speak to Pac. He like, yo, what up, Pac? Pac looked at him and turned his head. Didn't say nothing to him, got right back on his phone. Riz said, yo, F him, speak to Suge. Suge is the boss. Puff said something, she said, yo, what up, Suge? He said, what's up? He said, yo, you think we got any problems out here? Suge said, I don't know no problems that y'all have. You think we good out here? He said, you should be. Suge just, I don't know any problems you got, bruh. And Pac was alive then.
Tupac hit us with Hit 'Em Up, and that joint was cold. I had to make the call to Biggie, and I said, we not gonna respond. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
There is a significant likelihood that the FBI will launch an investigation into Tupac's murder, as things got heated at this week's trial when 50 Cent's name was mentioned during witness testimony. The person who named him was Capricorn Clark, who used to work for Diddy.
The jury came back to some explosive testimony from Capricorn Clark, who is a former employee of Sean Combs. She worked for him on and off from 2004 through 2018, starting as one of his personal assistants and making her way up to head of marketing for Sean John. She said she was working for him, that some of Sean Combs' jewelry from the celebrity jeweler Jacob the Jeweler had gone missing. She said that one of Sean Combs' security guards, Uncle Paulie, picked her up from her home and brought her to a deserted building in New York City. She explained that Sean Combs' security guard, again, Uncle Paulie, would pick her up every day at her home, bring her to this deserted building, would leave. She was locked in, forced to take this lie detector test. She said that she was petrified, and he said that if she did not pass the lie detector test, that they were going to throw her into the East River. She also said that as a personal assistant, she was paid $65,000, and she said that she was sleeping 2 to 4 hours a night, that she was working around the clock, and that she spoke to HR. She said that the HR representative told Sean Combs in front of her, Capricorn Clark is due $80,000 for her overtime over the course of 3 months. She said that Sean Combs ripped up the paperwork from HR and that she was never paid. You guys may remember from last week that the rapper Kid Cudi testified that Sean Combs showed up to his home and wanted to talk to him because he was dating Cassie at the time. Kid Cudi also said that his car was blown up, which he believed to be from Sean Combs. Well, Capricorn Clark was there that day when Sean Combs allegedly broke into his home. Capricorn Clark said that Sean Combs showed up at her home with a gun, kidnapped her, forced her to go into the car with the gun on his lap, and they went to Kid Cudi's house and broke in. That is when Capricorn Clark called Cassie Ventura, who was with Kid Cudi, informed him that he was in his house. So now we're getting not only threats, not only alleged acts of violence with that gun, but also corroboration of Cassie Ventura's testimony and Kid Cudi's testimony. Now, after that incident, Capricorn Clark testified that she spoke to Harv Pierre, who was the head of Bad Boy Records. She told him that Sean Combs kidnapped a gun, broke into Kid Cudi's house, said he wanted to kill Kid Cudi, and beat Cassie Ventura all in one day. Then, a few months after, she was actually terminated from that.
She began as his assistant and worked her way up to a senior position in his apparel brand, Sean John. She worked for Diddy from 2004 to 2018, so she witnessed a lot. Clark told the court that Diddy used to make threats.
And she said, actually, on the first day of the job, she was taken to Central Park. And you might think, oh, we're going to go to Central Park. It's going to be great. But that's not really how she described her first day on the job. She said she went there with Sean Combs, Diddy, and she also went there with Paul Alford. Now, who is Paul Alford? He's actually the security guard that we've known about for a number of testimony, right? But she's actually talking about Uncle Paulie. And so she said that she was brought to Central Park with them. And then she kind of gets into why they would go to Central Park. And it was essentially to threaten Capricorn Clark. Why? Because she actually used to work work with Death Row. And who was the CEO of Death Row? That is Suge Knight, one of Diddy's many arch nemesis. And so she said that she described her previous relationship with Suge Knight as he is actually the father of her best friend's children. So she does not have a personal, like, intimate relationship with Suge Knight necessarily, but she just knows of him and knows him a little bit closer, mainly because of her best friend, and that he is the father of her best friend's children. And so when she was taken to Central Park around this time, this being in 2004, she said that Diddy told her he'd kill her if she had anything to do with Suge Knight. Then there was an objection raised in court. The defense obviously objecting to that statement, but the government continued to ask her about this alleged threat, and she being Capricorn Clark, had explained that Diddy was relatively calm while delaying this kind of message to her. She said that during this kind of meetup at Central Park, or during this meeting, that Uncle Paulie said nothing. He was calm as well too. He was a little stoic from her description of it. And she said, as far as the response to the threat goes, she says, well, we'll just have to.
Clark had also previously worked at Death Row Records, which is managed by Suge Knight, Diddy's longtime rival. She knew Suge because her friend had a child with him, and when Diddy found out, she says he freaked out. Diddy and his security team reportedly took her to Central Park after dark and told her something disturbing.
Looking at the interview that Puffy did with Drink Champs, right? If I'm not mistaken, man, I haven't seen that interview in years, but I remember him making a comment saying that when Suge Knight got on stage and he made the comments about people dancing in the videos, he was actually talking about Jermaine Dupri, not him. Is that true?
Suge Knight ain't tell Puff no shit like that, and Puff ain't believe no shit like that, because right after Suge Knight made that statement, what did Puff do? He got on stage, because if a brick hit you, say ouch. He got on stage and spoke on it. You know, another executive come up here speaking on that. I love Dr. J. I love what they doing. I get Death Row. They props in the whole 9 yards. If he thought he was talking about Jermaine Dupri, why the fuck would he spend and say something right then and there? Why would he say something? He knew it was about him. That's why he got on stage and said what he said, bro. Didn't he say that right after what Suge Knight said? He got at the Source Awards and said what he said with Faith up there.
Yeah, you're right, man. That's a good point, man. After Suge Knight did say what he said on stage, Puffy, he did get on stage and he did address it, so
it was all bullshit. Oh, see, everything get changed years later. Everybody wanna write their exit or write their entrance the way they wanna write it and not tell the truth. Tell the truth so these young kids can understand, so these young kids can not make the same mistakes that you made. But they not gonna do that, because everybody want to be bigger than what they are.
So you have some people that say that Tupac, he was the one behind the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy. And you got some people that say that, you know, the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy started when Big J got killed. But from your point of view, when did the tension and beef start between Death Row and Bad Boy?
All the tension started between Puff and Suge Knight. You understand? All the tension came from Puff and Suge Knight. Suge wanted Puff to have Big them do a show. Puff wanted to get paid for Big doing the show. But Suge did a whole lot of shit, free shit for Puff at one time. Because when Puff used to come out to California, before he could afford security, before he could afford that, Suge used to look out for the cat. You understand what I'm saying? So now it became they bullshit. Then when Suge bought Misa out there, you understand? When Suge bought Misa out there and talk about what the East Coast won't take care of, the West Coast will, then Jake, you know, Jake being killed by Jason, you understand? And they making that bull up like Bad Boy had something to do with it. All that was over.
However, she also testified about an incident at an MTV press event where 50 Cent was present. Clark said that after the event, she entered an elevator with Diddy and a man named Chris Lighty, who was awkwardly managing both Diddy and 50 at the time. Diddy allegedly said to Lighty, "I don't like all the back and forth, I like guns." The prosecution asked who he was referring to, and the courtroom went silent. Clark stated it was 50 Cent. The hostility between Diddy and 50 Cent is not new. In 2006, 50 Cent released a diss track accusing Diddy of knowing who killed the rapper Biggie Smalls. also known as Biggie. The lyrics were provocative, essentially, suggesting that Diddy was soft and might be hiding the truth. Biggie was shot in 1997, and no one has ever been convicted for it. Tupac was also shot around the same time, during the peak of the East Coast-West Coast rap rivalry. The feud reportedly began not over music, but over women. Fast forward to the present day.
Speaking of, in particular, Netflix docuseries that you've been working on, Diddy Do It.
Right.
You've been saying for years that you feel you knew Diddy's character.
Right.
Yet you said you weren't a part of that lifestyle, you weren't going to the parties. So what makes you so absolutely sure that these kinds of allegations that we've seen against him are true?
Well, I'm surprised by the allegations, as surprised as everyone else is. Like, I didn't make the allegations, I didn't tell people to say these things. It comes out, I see it in the news like everyone else, but I did feel uncomfortable with the way he would present the idea of going to these projects.
To come party with me.
Yeah. And then that swayed me away from it. Just that alone.
So you didn't realize
as much stuff was coming. Like when I seen today, it was allegations of 3 men that said he drugged them, and it's a long time, to be honest with you. Like when people don't remember being violated for 20 years, it makes me feel a little hard.
What are your thoughts on the allegations against Jay-Z?
That was interesting. When I was saying things, not knowing exactly what I was saying, but I was going, where's Jay at? He's mad quiet. Like while the Puffy thing was going on. But it's obvious now that his team was being made aware that he was in those allegations also.
And 50 Cent continues to go after Diddy. When a man named Keith D was arrested in connection with Tupac's murder last year, 50 posted online, alleging that Diddy was involved. He referred to him as Brother Love and wrote, "Time to lawyer up. This might get sticky. Diddy has denied everything." In a 2018 interview, he claimed he had no issues with 50 and even joked that 50 loved him. However, 50 Cent certainly doesn't see it that way. Every time something goes wrong for Diddy, 50 is right there on Instagram mocking him. When Diddy's mansion was raided earlier this year, 50 wrote, "Now it's not," and even advertised his clothing brand in the same post. After hearing his name mentioned in court this week, 50 went into full troll mode, uploading a fake photo of himself looking serious with the caption, "Wait a minute, Puffy's got a gun. I don't feel safe." He then posted another fake image of himself looking stressed, writing, "Itty bitty Diddy wants me dead. I'm going to lay low maybe at the playoff game tonight." And he wasn't kidding. The next night, he attended the Knicks game wearing a shirt that said "Free Diddy." Classic 50. He's been mocking Diddy for years, and now that Diddy is on trial for threats and other serious charges, 50 is doubling down. The trial is expected to run for at least another month, and the latest reports all point toward a grim outcome for Diddy. On Monday, a woman named Jane testified before the jury about a violent altercation she had with Diddy shortly after a video surfaced of him allegedly assaulting his ex-girlfriend Cassie
at Combs' Miami home in May 2024 when the Cassie video first aired on CNN. And she said Combs even showed her a draft of the statement that he was going to post to Instagram apologizing for it. And the jury heard her say that she didn't think he was being genuine. When she later heard and saw that Instagram post, the defense objected. The judge instructed the jury to disregard that testimony. The other interesting thing even that Jane said on the witness stand is that Sean Combs is still not only just paying her rent, but also paying her legal bills. And his defense attorneys were the ones to whom she first disclosed that Sean Combs got violent with her in June 2024.
Okay, Cassie Ventura Combs' was not in court today, but her civil suit against Diddy came up today. Why was that?
Jane said she nearly fainted, or she said, in fact, maybe I did faint, because it was like reading her own story, as she put it, her own sexual trauma. And she said she confronted Sean Combs about it, and he told her that that was the only time in his relationship with Cassie Ventura when there had been violence.
Jane said that about a month after the video was released, she and Diddy got into a violent fight at her Los Angeles home, which he had paid for. They had been drinking and arguing. And Jane said she confronted Diddy about meeting another woman while on a family vacation in Utah. Diddy then bent down to tie his shoe. Jane claims she shoved his head against a marble countertop.
Because when you combine it with that she's on the stand, and remember, I'm in the main courtroom where she's testifying, she is talking so softly. She refuses to look up, even at the person that is asking her the questions, and she is crying like every 5 minutes. So when you combine him talking so aggressively to her in these voicemails, like to us, it'd be like, no, you ain't talking to me like that. But to a person that the jury is seeing, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah, but they also heard that she started physical fights, smashed his head into a marble counter, punched him, threw wax and hot oil at him.
But
they heard that as well, so she's capable of that as well. And here's a guy saying, you saw me on social media with another woman. Let's not get crazy about this. I'm single. I can do what I want, but I'm telling you the truth. Again, that doesn't sound criminal. I think that rings truer in people's ear as something they've heard before of a trifling man.
But also, they're not looking at that testimony singularly. They're looking at the entire case. They're looking at the Cassie video. So they're listening to everything.
Perhaps the most shocking part was the audio played in court, which thoroughly incriminated Diddy.
Diddy would hold this over her head and say that he was going to take that away from her if she didn't want to participate. During Jane's testimony today, they brought up that Diddy left a voicemail on Jane's phone, and he referred to these freak-offs in her eyes as a job. Now, they have released the voicemail that Diddy left her to the public.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all. At all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence. And ain't nobody threatening you, and I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you can be mad, I can have a spat, we can have whatever, then after that you better get on your job. That's really, that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job, nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. So either you go in the direction of like moving on and like that, or you like, just like have me just keep moving. Ain't no threat, I'm just being clear. I can't do this with you every time.
After that, she claims Diddy took a shower, told her to apply ice to her injuries, and ordered her to put on lingerie before calling in a male escort.
For a love bracelet, and told her that he would send her money at the end of the trip, and not just any money, not a couple like $50 or $100, maybe even $1,000. No, it was a lot of money. It was $10,000 that he said that he was going to send her at the end of the trip just to have it, just to have $10,000, which must be pretty nice for someone to send $10,000 just because. But during the trip, Jane said that she started to use some types of drugs, including ecstasy. She said she had taken it before, but that Diddy was the one who suggested it at various points during the trip, like 10 times, as she said, and said that he had opened his hand, a pill was there, and said, take this, it'll be more fun. And then she said her body began convulsing during this trip. She fell to the sand, and that Christina Coram and the butler had to put her in a lukewarm shower. And then she said every other day that while on this trip that they would take this ecstasy pill, I should say. And so it seemed like that was kind of the start of the relationship. One, drugs, but also a lot of money kind of being thrown at her just right at the beginning. But according to Jane, she was just head over heels during this.
So I don't hear trafficking yet. I don't hear that force, fraud, coercion. However, starts talking about giving drugs when having sex, other people, his associates taking care of her. You're starting to see the flavors of then maybe things of value being given in exchange for sex acts. Why do I say that? Because then she talks about a change. She talks about a change in their sex life, right?
Yeah, she did, and she really started getting pretty emotional at this point, where you could hear her voice kind of shaking, as well as she started crying while she was on the witness stand. And this change in their relationship happened in May of 2021, and that was when Diddy started talking about fantasies at this point. Jane had said, he wanted me to talk about other men. Do you like what you see? Pretend it's here. And this is while the two were watching pornography together. She had explained that Diddy was the one who initiated the fantasy talks, and that around this time, Jane had been awake for 24 hours. She was doing drugs like ecstasy and...
Diddy's legal team has requested a mistrial twice, and over the weekend, they submitted another plea to Judge Aru Subramanian, claiming that one witness, Brianna Bongolan, gave false testimony. Bongolan said that Diddy held her over a balcony at Cassie's residence in 2016. Diddy's lawyers argued that both Bongolan and Cassie gave misleading statements, and that the government used these claims to introduce additional evidence that should have been inadmissible.
Sean Diddy Combs' team is once again asking a judge to declare a mistrial in his and racketeering case. Defense attorneys claim prosecutors presented false evidence alleging Combs dangled a woman from a balcony in Los Angeles in 2016, saying that they can prove he was in New York City at the time. Let's bring in ABC News legal contributor Bernarda Villalona to break this all down. Thanks so much for being with us. Diddy's team claims that the woman committed perjury on the witness stand, and that's why they were asking for a mistrial. What do you make of this move?
Yeah, so I was in the courtroom when this witness was testifying, and when the defense attorney, Ms. Westmoreland, confronted this witness with the travel arrangements where Sean Combs was in a different state when she alleged that she was dangled over this balcony. So in terms of what the defense is trying to do, they're trying to prevent a miscarriage of justice. They are asking the judge to step in and not to wait and see what a jury would do, because now they've shown a pattern of prosecutorial misconduct by this prosecutor. Number one, with the insinuation that Sean Combs has something to do with paying off LAPD to get rid of evidence, and now with condoning this perjured testimony. So yes, they're asking for the judge to step in now and make a decision, and not to wait to see what a jury would do. Also to remember that they're doing this now because they are doing two things. They're also trying the case in front of a jury, but if there is a conviction, they want to make sure that they have brought this issue up before this judge, so that way an appellate court can review this decision.
Okay, thank you for explaining that context there. And prosecutors, they are expected to respond to the mistrial request before court resumes tomorrow. What do you anticipate will happen?
So on this specific issue, I think the judge is going to deny the defense's request for a mistrial. The reason being because they're dealing with something having to deal with the credibility of a witness. The jury is the finder of fact. They are the ones that determine the credibility of witnesses. So that being the case, the judge is going to say that it's up to the jury to determine the witness's credibility, that being of Cassie Ventura, and also of this witness that supposedly gave perjured testimony. So they're going to leave it. The judge is going to let the jury to decide and going to deny the defense's request.
Last month, Diddy's team requested a mistrial after learning that fingerprint evidence had been destroyed following a vehicle bombing at rapper Kid Cudi's home. However, the request was denied. Diddy has also been threatened with removal from the courtroom for continuing to try to influence both the judge and the jury.
Some breaking news. This is involving the Sean Combs trial. Senior national correspondent Laura Ingle is standing by with legal analyst Misty Maris. And Laura, you are learning Combs could potentially be removed from his trial and not allowed in the courtroom. What can you tell us?
That's right, Nicole. This has just happened in the last few minutes, and this would be a huge development if he is removed for the rest of the trial. And what has happened here, as we are going through the cross-examination of one of Cassie Ventura's friends, who we've been telling you about, Brianna, who has been on the stand, Sean Combs has been, according to the judge, vigorously nodding during some of this cross, engaging with jurors, or at least appearing that he's trying to, looking at jurors. That is not allowed. And as you mentioned, legal analyst Misty Maris is here. I'm just going to scoot her in. This is breaking news, so we're just bringing her right in because we're here at the courthouse together. You just came over to tell me what the judge said. Explain to us what this means.
Yeah, so this was huge because what the judge admonished the defense team, saying that Combs had been engaging with the jury, meaning that he's making direct eye contact with the jury and having a reaction, nodding his head. The judge said this is jury interference. It's to influence the jury, and actually referenced that the defense was warned not only today during Bongolan's testimony, but also had been warned previously during the testimony of George Kaplan. So this feeds into a federal rule which relates to disruptive conduct by the defendant in the courtroom. And the rule says that if somebody is warned by the judge, the defendant is warned, but the conduct continues, one of the consequences could be removal from the courtroom for the remainder of the trial. And Laura, that is a huge consequence to the defense.
Yeah, and all along we've been seeing Sean Combs, passing notes, and that's allowed with his defense. He's been very active. He's been paying attention, and we have heard of him nodding along during some of the testimony, but this is something different.
Correct. So engagement with your attorneys, passing notes during testimony, even being a bit reactive to witness testimony, looking at the witness and perhaps having a reaction and looking engaged, all fine. It's when it comes down to engagement with jurors and something that could tend to influence them in some way. And what the court looks at is their influence or intimidation. Is that what the defendant is doing, and could it have that impact? So here the judge was taking a very strong stance. And keep in mind, from the defense perspective, that would be the most severe consequence, removal from the courtroom, because every defendant has the right to face their accusers.
Jury, do you believe Diddy will be able to survive these new revelations in court?
So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.